Hey guys, thank you for everyone watched the Kilmarnock and Rangers video. That was the highest one that I've had to date. Unfortunately, it was the case that Rangers had to lose to get that. I would rather that Rangers got 3 points and the videos do well. But anyway, the top story of out of date. I mean, this is Valentine's Day, and it's not a happy Valentine's Day for Manchester City. They're 22 points of it behind Liverpool at the moment in the league. And they've now been banned from Europe for 2 seasons. Now, there's a lot to unravel from this, but I'm just going to tell you the different kind of articles and then give you some of my thoughts on it. So this is from BBC Sport. Manchester City have been banned from European club competition in 2020 and 21 and 21-22 after being found to committed serious breaches of UEFA clubs licensing and financial fair play regulations. The reigning Premier League champions have also been fined €30 million, which is 25 million in British sterling. The decision is subject to appeal to the Court of Arbitration of Sport. Manchester City say they're disappointed but not surprised by the Prudential decision and will appeal. The independent adjudicatory chamber of the club financial control body said City have broken the rules by overstating its sponsorship revenue in its accounts and in the break-even information submitted to UEFA between 2012 and 2016, adding that the club failed to cooperate in the investigation. Manchester City said in a statement the club has always anticipated the ultimate need to seek out an independent body and process to impartially consider the comprehensive body of irrefutable evidence in support of its position. In December 2018, UEFA chief investigator publicly previewed the outcome and sanction he intended to be delivered to Manchester City before any investigation had even begun. The subsequent flawed and consistently leaked UEFA process he oversaw has meant that there is little doubt in the result that he would deliver. The club has formally complained to the UEFA disciplinary body, a complaint which was validated by a CAS ruling. Simply put, this is a case initiated by UEFA, prosecuted by UEFA, and judged by UEFA. With this judicial process now over, the club will now pursue an impartial judgment as quickly as possible and will therefore, in the first instance, commence proceedings with the Court of Arbitration for Sport at the earliest opportunity. City have been drawn to face Real Madrid in the last 16 of this season's Champions League, with the first leg to be played on the 26th of February at the San Bernabeu. UEFA launched an investigation after German newspaper Der Spiegel published leaked documents in November 2018 alleging City had inflated the value of a sponsorship deal. Misleading European football's governing body, reports allege City who have always denied wrongdoing, deliberately misled FIFA so they could meet financial fair play rules, requiring clubs to break even. City were fined €49 million in 2014 for a previous breach of regulations. This is from The Guardian. How leaked emails and invoices led to Manchester City's ban from Europe. Throughout the startling leaks of Manchester City's internal emails in the German magazine Der Spiegel and the resulting investigation by UEFA, which led ultimately to Friday's guilty finding and 2-season Champions League ban and 25 million fine, City's response has been uniform scorn, outrage, denial. The emails splashed by Spiegel with evident relish across a series of exposés punched into City's expertly and expensively created modern image in 3 broad areas relating to UEFA's financial fair play rules, which were introduced in 2011 to deter clubs from overspending. First and most damaging were emails and accounting documents which appeared to show that City's owner, Sheikh Mansour of the Abu Dhabi ruling family, was mostly funding the huge $67.5 million annual sponsorship of the club's shirt, stadium and academy by his country's airline, Etihad. That created a perception that the Abu Dhabi hierarchy, in their drive to mega spend on City attaining elite status while somehow complying with financial fair play rules, had deceived UEFA in their financial submissions. This serious trouble for City sprang from a tiny number of emails, a fraction of the documentary dump provided by Spiegel by its source Rui Pinto, a Portuguese national now charged in his home country for 147 criminal offences, including computer hacking, all of which he denies. Financial fair play rules limit the amount of money owners can put into bankroll losses, encouraging top division European clubs not to overspend on players' wages and transfer fees, and risk falling into financial crisis, and to spend within their revenues. Mansour started financing mega losses on player signings and wages after his 2008 takeover, and City had scrambled particularly following the introduction of financial fair play in 2011 to turbo boost their revenues with large sponsorship from Abu Dhabi companies. One of the emails from City's then Chief Financial Officer George Tremelius, headed cash flow, stated that Mansour's own company vehicle, the Abu Dhabi United Group ADUG, would be paying $57 million as a contribution to the 13-14 sponsorship fee, while only $8 million was Etihad's direct contribution. Then Tremelius sent invoices for Etihad to the City executives Ferran Soriano and Simon Pearce, stating that the 2015-16, the Etihad sponsorships was $67.5 million, of which $8 million should be funded directly by Etihad and $59.5 million by ADUG. Following the Spiegel coverage, UEFA's club financial control body investigative chamber finally announced last March that it would launch an investigation, and City responded by saying they would comfortably prove that the accusations were entirely false. The IC, a panel of grandees chaired by Yves Leterme, a former Belgian Prime Minister, was clearly not convinced. However, after its inquiry, which involved 2 days of hearings, and it charged the club in May, Man City responded with scorn, accused the IC of ignoring a comprehensive body of irrefutable evidence, said the decision was a result of mistakes, misinterpretations and confusions, fundamentally born out of a basic lack of due process, and an effort accused the IC of being biased, running a wholly unsatisfactory, curtailed and hostile process. City expressed huge outrage that the IC's pending decision to charge the club was leaked 2 days early, which was indeed embarrassing to UEFA. Although the truth is that throughout the process very little detail has leaked. The fact that the IC did charge City, though, made it self-evident that the hierarchy's explanations and whatever documentation they did provide did not satisfy the IC that questions raised by the club's own internal communications had been irrefutably answered. The IC can reasonably have expected City to produce, for example, the internal replies to Tremelius' stunning emails, which perhaps would show he had been corrected, or that in context it could be shown that it was simply irrefutable, not the case that ADUG was funding the Etihad sponsorship. Instead, the IC clearly decided that the allegations had not been refuted and sent them for determination by UEFA's CFCB Adjudicatory Chamber, which is chaired by Jose Nicasio da Cunha Rodrigues, a former general prosecutor in Portugal and judge at the European Court of Justice, and includes a leading British barrister, Charles Flint QC. These public responses, there's a lot to unwrap here, but basically, from reading that, there was some leaked emails. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just over-exaggerating what the revenue was from the stadium deal. Something that Paris Saint-Germain have done as well, and with the transfer of Neymar to PSG, which is from Barcelona, that's certainly a very kind of controversial matter. And then the signing of Mbappe, then originally on loan, and I believe they signed him for 165 million. I would surely expect that Paris Saint-Germain will get dealt the same sort of punishment. I have to be honest though, saying this as a City fan, I mean, I started supporting City when Kevin Keegan was in charge, because they were just everything Manchester United were not. They weren't the best club in England, and I didn't choose to support Liverpool, and Manchester City just seemed to be a natural fit at the time. Whether you believe me or you don't, I mean, that's up to you. That's absolutely fine. I think that if the club has been guilty of this, that the ruling is correct. I think that it's about time financial fair play made an example of a club. Chelsea have had 2 transfer bans for illegal transfers, although they did get the one for January lifted, although they didn't sign anyone in January anyway, so it didn't make any difference. But it's good to see that maybe now financial fair play is not going to be looked at as an absolute joke. If you look at clubs like Liverpool under FSG, they've been very clear from the beginning that in terms of signing players and players going out the door, they were going to be very complicit to financial fair play. And for any Manchester City fans that are going to ask about why are Manchester United not getting this, the simple fact is, if you look at clubs like Manchester United and Real Madrid and Barcelona, the revenue that they're getting in, because they're already big clubs, is just astronomical. Manchester City are in the same situation that Chelsea were in the mid-2000s, where they were a club, obviously, that got huge investment. They're trying to kind of build a fan base, but I mean, there's lots of kind of jokes online about Etihad never being kind of full. Manchester City simply are not at the kind of level of a top club where they're making that sort of revenue to justify these transfers and these wages for players. And the same with Paris Saint-Germain as well. I mean, AC Milan also got banned from Europa League. It's interesting that that's happened with them because AC Milan are an absolutely huge club. But they've obviously had their difficulties, and I guess revenue is down, and with everything that's happening in the world in terms of the financial situation in Italy, it's very difficult. If AC Milan could get punished, though, I mean, I think Inter Milan maybe should be looking over their shoulders. They've spent a lot of money there in the summer. They're on Lukaku, the loan sign of Alexis Sanchez, which he's on huge wages, and if they sign him permanently, I think that they could possibly need to be looking over their shoulders. But the fact of the matter is, if you're not a big enough club and you're not trying to basically cut your losses, I mean, the reason that they brought this in is very simple. They're not wanting clubs to go out of business. They're not wanting clubs to overspend or get these kind of bank loans and go out of business. So it's good, and hopefully now financial fair play will be taken seriously. I mean, Manchester City have obviously been made an example of, but I mean, I think it had to happen eventually. And if those leaked emails are found to be true, where they were exaggerating the financial process of what was coming from the Etihad, then it's absolutely correct, in my opinion, absolutely correct. As I say, I would expect Paris Saint-Germain to get the same, because they apparently, because I've got to be kind of very careful, they apparently have over-exaggerated their fee as well from the stadium sponsorship by the Qatar Group, which believe their owners are paying most of that. And I've also apparently exaggerated transfers going out the door, like Edouard to Celtic, for example. Obviously, the fee is believed to be the fee is 9 million, but it's believed that maybe Celtic only paid 3 million for him. That's just some of the rumours. Now, what does this mean going forward? Well, if you're Chris Wilder and you're Sheffield United, if they keep going the way they are and they finish fifth, then they'll be in the Champions League qualifiers next season, which is absolutely incredible. Now, we know obviously for newly promoted clubs, going into Europe can be an absolute death sentence, but if they can get a few players in and they can, bulk out the squad a bit more, then it might not be a death sentence for him. I mean, Chris Wilder's been absolutely incredible this season, so it's a huge opportunity for Sheffield United. I mean, for Manchester United as well, who don't look likely to finish top four. If they finish fifth over Sheffield United, they'll be back in the Champions League, so that'll make it easier for them to attract some bigger and better players, because quite frankly, under Solskjaer, they're not going to attract the player that they want. I mean, that was very clear by Haaland going to Borussia Dortmund, a move that he is actually being criticised very heavily for, but in my opinion, it was the best place he could go. I mean, you've seen how a lot of younger players are developing really well in Germany, and he'll be able to go somewhere else. And with the form he's in, I mean, you wouldn't be surprised to see the likes of Barcelona or Real Madrid banging on his door sooner rather than later. But yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's the right decision. So, I mean, what does it mean for Manchester City going forward? I wouldn't be that surprised if Guardiola went at the end of the season. I mean, Manchester City really need to win the Champions League this season. I don't think that they will. Because this is really going to be the last season they're going to have under Guardiola in terms of that, whether he stays to the end of next season or not, because his contract is up after that, and I don't believe he'll sign a new contract. So what does that mean? Well, Manchester City have got a top keeper in Ederson. They've obviously got an understudy in Claudio Bravo, but he is getting on a bit. They've got Scott Carson as well, who's obviously the third choice. For some reason, Manchester City and Chelsea like to have a really not so great third choice keeper. In defence, Kyle Walker is good going forward. Defensively is not the best. John Stones I'm not a fan of at all. Angelino, I think so far is flattered to deceive. Aymeric Laporte has been absolutely tremendous, and the reason I'm going through this will be made very clear in a minute. Benjamin Mendy, although obviously I am a fan of him, he has been kind of found wanting at times. I'm a fan of João Cancelo, but Guardiola's not taken by him, so it'd be interesting if he's even still at the club. Nicolas Otamendi, I mean, even worse than John Stones, really. Philippe Sandler's obviously a young player. Eric Garcia, I mean, he looks like he could be quite a bright kind of prospect, but Manchester City have clearly suffered this season by the loss of Vincent Kompany, who obviously it was time to move on, but he was a leader, he was a locker room leader, and this is kind of where I'm going to get to the point. Gundogan's obviously a brilliant player. Zinchenko's, yeah, I mean, Rodrigo is a very good player. Kevin De Bruyne, of course, he needs no introduction. Move that over here. But Kevin De Bruyne is very injury prone. Bernardo Silva is a brilliant player. David Silva is going to be gone at the end of the season. Fernandinho gone at the end of this season, the end of next season. Riyad Mahrez, I think, to be honest with you, has I don't think he's justified his 60 million fee. I mean, he has had some very good games, but I just don't really see it, to be honest. Phil Foden, who Guardiola has said that he thought was the best young player he's ever worked with. He has worked with Messi, so take that with a pinch of salt. Then forward, you got Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling's pretty much said that when Guardiola's not there, he won't be there. Gabriel Jesus, he is very good, but he's not quite at the level of Sergio Aguero. Sergio Aguero, who could be gone at the season after next, because I believe his contract's up after that and he's wanting to go back to Argentina. And Leroy Sané, who is obviously fancied to go to Bayern Munich. So Manchester City, after all this has happened, after the ban's finished, and unless Guardiola does sign a new contract, but I don't believe he will. I mean, he's never really kind of a long-term manager, and he's not someone that really likes to do a rebuild, in my opinion. It's going to be a really difficult time for Manchester City. I mean, it's great news if you're Liverpool right now, because you're going to think that you're just going to absolutely storm the league for the next few seasons. Manchester United are not kind of at it. Chelsea are trying to get them. Made a great signing in Hakim Ziyech, who's had an incredible season so far. 21 assists and 8 goals so far this season. Although Chelsea do have some bigger problems. The goalkeeping department, I mean, Kepa is just very unconvincing. Defensively, they've been very poor. They play some good football. They're very similar situation, I think, to what Liverpool were in a few seasons ago. But Liverpool do have better fullbacks and certainly a better front three. But that wasn't certainly built overnight. I'm not saying that Lampard is Jurgen Klopp. But yeah, I think some testing times for Manchester City ahead, to be honest with you. So I mean, I had to obviously do a video on this because this is an absolutely huge story. I mean, obviously with an appeal on that, maybe they'll get it reduced to one season, or maybe they'll with appeal like what Chelsea did with the transfer ban, that maybe they'll be in the Champions League next season, which if you're Sheffield United or Manchester United, you're going to feel is very unfair, because you've got that kind of carrot now if Chelsea kind of hold on to that fourth spot, which looks like they possibly will. But anyway, sorry for the length of the video, but I mean, there was a lot to unpackage there, but hopefully you enjoy it. And not really too sure when the next one will be. I mean, Rangers and Livingston is tomorrow, but the problem for me is I will be working, so, and the same with Sunday as well. So we'll see what games are coming up, and if I can give you some analysis, then I certainly will. And thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.